onboarding video. So yeah, I just looked at the last video. It was 21 minutes long. So I feel kind of awkward because I was talking about myself for a solid 20 minutes, but hopefully it was valuable. I mean, it seems like every time I have a conversation with people and we start introducing ourselves, I mean, to go into your whole backstory takes a while. So yeah, these will be on YouTube. So I hope you watch them at double speed. Plus, there's this sweet Chrome extension. I guess I don't have it right here, but it's called Video Speed Controller. You should totally look it up. It lets you watch videos at like 3 times speed or 5 times speed, like whatever speed you want. So it it is awesome. I highly recommend it. So yeah, hopefully if you use something like that, this video will be less of a drag to get through. Yeah, okay. So the the agenda for this video is I want to actually show you what Rootski is because I know there's a GIF on my like projects page on my website, but the GIF is pretty outdated to be honest. I mean, I guess I wish it was more outdated than it was, but I have made several improvements to Rootski, but a lot of them are on the back end and in the infrastructure, so you can't actually see them. But there are some changes to the front end too. So I told you in the first video for onboarding that Rootski is a tool that helps people study Russian. So it's kind of a clone of SpanishDict.com or like dictionary.com. So it is a dictionary. Um, but really what it lets you do, so actually before I even show you the demo, I'm going to go back to my products page. So check this out. So this word right here, this is a really long word. So this word means self-defrosting in Russian. So you say it samorazmораживающийся. So yeah, super long word. I think it's like 13 syllables or something. So basically, a lot of words in Russian are like this. I mean, this word's kind of an edge case because it's like particularly long, but I chose it to prove a point. Yeah, Russian words tend to be really long, and there's not like a one-to-one mapping of like English words to Russian words. It's like for every English word there is, you can expect there to be like 2 to 6 Russian synonyms that each contain like their own very specific subset of that meaning. So yeah, I won't really give an example on that, but yeah, there's a lot more Russian words than there are English words, I guess in everyday speech at least. And so to have like a functioning working vocabulary of Russian, you have to learn a ton of words relative to other languages. And not only do you have to learn a ton of words, but the words are super long, like this word, or just I mean they have their own alphabet. I mean there's a lot of challenges for newcomers to the language. And especially as you get kind of like intermediate to advanced level, it really becomes overwhelming to learn Russian vocabulary. So here's the spiel of Russian, and you guys have, if you've read the onboarding materials or been in the Slack channel, you probably have heard this already, but I'll just say it again. So um, there are tons and tons of Russian words, way more than English. There are only like 300 Russian roots that show up in the majority of words. I mean, there's way more roots than that. There's like probably over 2,000 roots, but like if you were to like do a histogram of like frequency that Russian roots show up in words, you'd find that like the vast majority of like their frequency mass is in the first 300 roots. So like basically, wow, that was really complicated. What I'm trying to say is like 300 roots are present in the majority of Russian words you'd see it like on a day-to-day basis. So when we're talking about learning a language, I mean, the number 300 is actually like really small. I mean, if you really set your mind to it, you could make flashcards and you could learn those 300 roots in a week. So that is like a super powerful concept. So once you learn Russian roots, you can do things like this. So here's the word саморазмораживающийся. So it is actually way more straightforward than this would make you think. So here I have that word broken down into roots. So we got sama, so this little green part, that means self, and then raz, which is like undoing something, and then mirage is frost or freezing, and then this ivarshisa is like, I don't know, it's like a thing, like it turns it into a noun basically. So really this big word means like self unfreeze thing. So yeah, self unfreeze thing, that is totally self defrosting. So um, yeah, I feel like even if you don't know Russian, that concept can kind of click for you. It's like in English we have like detract and retract and extract. Like you know, you're only changing the prefix there, but the root tract still means to drag or to pull in all cases. Um, so yeah, so the the like sort of the philosophy behind Rootsky is to make it super clear to Russian learners that the Russian language is basically built out of these Lego blocks. And if you learn these like 300 Lego blocks, you can basically look at a huge, complicated, brand new word that you've never seen before, like this. And like, if you knew these roots, you could like easily pick apart this word, especially in context. So you can come across words you've never seen before and immediately know what they mean or have a great guess of what they mean. And another cool thing is you can actually build your own words, and oftentimes you'll land on a correct word just from your knowledge of roots. So, okay, so how does this all like actually look in the product? I will show you. So let's go over to the demo. And so we have this search. Yeah, as you can see, there's no landing page for Rootski, so we can't release it yet because people would have no idea what's going on. Also, this search bar is a total lie. You can't search for roots, words, and study sets. You have to search for words. And not only that, currently you have to search using the Cyrillic alphabet. So most like I have, you can see this little Russian flag at my top, so I am using the Cyrillic keyboard right now, but like, uh, yeah, most people don't just have that handy. So we're probably gonna have to improve the search functionality where you can search for English words and it'll give you like a quick translation into Russian and then pull those up. So yeah, sorry. Moving on. So if I type like, this is wait, actually no, let's do Sama because that's self, so we can get some long words with that. So um, check it out. So here's a word right here. Check it out, a word you've never seen before in Russian. Well, I don't know. If you speak Russian, you might know it, this word. But so here's the page that this I call this the word page. So we just searched a word in the search bar and we landed on the word page. So we can see the word. We can see some quick like stats about the word. I'll just look at those in a second. And when you look up the word, you basically get like a SpanishDict.com kind of UI. So you get some definitions, and then you get some like example sentences. Which, by the way, this is like one of the most useful things Rootsky has. Yeah, like it's not when you're going to learn a word, you don't just like learning a single word out of context is honestly not that helpful because for any given word you're going to have a ton of synonyms that mean a really similar thing. And so if you're a non-native speaker and you learn two words for like house, you're not going to know if one is like a more formal word for house like a mansion, like, or like a informal word for house like a crib or something, I guess. So basically if you see words in like I don't know, the best way to, I guess, do your vocabulary acquisition is to learn words in the context of sentences. So I web scraped these examples. That was part of what I did over that summer of data collection. And the examples aren't all perfect. We have some duplicate data issues right now, but for the most part, this is a really good example. Like, um, yeah, of what kind of sentences we have for our words. And then for each word, this word happens to be an adjective that means independent. And so we're seeing some grammar information here in this table that's specific to adjectives. And so for nouns and verbs and adverbs, I think we have you'll get different information, the grammar information about how to like conjugate the word, so to speak. Uh, that are specific to that word type. So they call that, by the way, they call that a part of speech. So an adjective is a part of speech, a noun is a part of speech, a verb is a part of speech. So yeah, that part of speech is one of the things in the Rootsky data model. So uh, yeah, I can kind of tell you that as you go. But another cool thing is we have these definitions, and honestly, it came to a point where I was struggling to get definitions, especially open source free definitions. Like there's a really great Russian dictionary out there, and I would have loved to steal those definitions for our app, but that wouldn't be legal. And there are definitely like licensing issues with definitions. So all the definitions we have for Rootski are open source, and I wasn't super pleased with them. And then I had a genius idea. We don't need our own definitions. We can just link to other really good dictionaries. So if you study a language, you probably have used word reference before. That's like my favorite language dictionary. So I can just click on this hyperlink real quick. And if you look at the URL for a word reference, oh, is this gonna? Well, this is sad. This is a bad example. So basically, word reference is like a really nice dictionary with really fantastic definitions. And they even have their own API where you can pay to include their definitions in your software. Or maybe they don't do that anymore. They might have discontinued it. The reason I don't know that is because we don't need to know that because we're just going to link here. So in this particular case, the word independent, I guess, didn't have a good Like they call this an article. It's like a page about a word. So they didn't have a good word page or article. Oh no, they did, I guess. Look, here's the word, and it means independent. So I guess that's kind of wimpy. Usually they have like a lot of other information. So, but yeah, if they didn't happen to have that, you could click on any one of these buttons, and these basically just link you to other sites that have their own dictionaries. So that is so useful, because usually when you're learning a word, you want to check multiple dictionaries to see multiple people's takes on what that word means, and you're going to get more examples of the word when you do that. So super cool. Yeah, I actually think this is a pretty elegant definition because it basically eliminates licensing problems, and it really, instead of trying to compete with these other dictionaries, which Ruski shouldn't compete with them, we're specializing in a certain thing, which is roots. Instead of trying to compete with them, we basically give them free marketing by linking to them, and I don't know, we sort of are like playing as team members here with these other dictionary apps. So I thought that was a good solution. So let me just tell you really quick about these stats. So we have this word, and um, I took special like pains, I guess, to get certain data about words when I was collecting the Rootsky data set. So one of the things I gathered was this frequency ranking. So if you've ever heard of a frequency dictionary before, what it is it's a list of words in a language in order of most frequently used to least frequently used. So for example, in English, the most frequently used word is and, because and shows up in like every sentence. And then the second most used word is probably, I don't even know what it is, but in Russian it's and then the second one is like in or something like that. So this is saying that this form of adjective, this word that means independent, of all the synonyms that could mean independent, this one in the entire language of Russian has frequency ranking 2,581. So this is the 2,581th most common used word in Russian, according to like a giant corpus of text, which basically I took like massive amounts of Russian text and counted the number of times each word showed up. And so like this number can be misleading. Like if I had done millions of words of like Shakespeare, I bet we'd see a very different frequency distribution than like tweets or something like something more modern. So yeah, so you have to take this with a grain of salt, but um, I actually lied to you. I didn't produce this myself. I actually took these from well-established lists online. I didn't. We could have made our own, but I didn't. I didn't think it was worth it. So that is the process by which these sort of frequency rankings are collected, and and I just took like a list of 100,000 of them and stuck them onto our words. So, by the way, the data set of Rootski is a little under 200,000 words, which is pretty good. Like that definitely covers most words you would want to know in a language, but it's definitely not complete. I mean, if you're really in like a niche situation, especially like in tech or medicine or science, we are lacking a lot of those words. So that's an area where the Rootski dictionary can improve, which we can totally do almost effortlessly because we just link to other definitions. So that's really cool. Yeah. But 200,000 words is pretty good. I mean, especially for a beginner, you're gonna all the words you could ever want to know are going to be in Broodski. So, and as you're learning them, for the first 100,000 most common, we have this frequency ranking, which is super helpful because if there's like multiple, I know for a fact three. I know right off the top of my head three synonyms for independent in Russian, but I guess I could tell you right now that if we pulled those up, I could tell you which is the most common based on this frequency ranking. And so if you're studying, you can prioritize really niche, rarely used words with against the words that people actually use in everyday conversation. So, um, you know what? That wasn't a ramble. I think that's actually really good context for this number and one of the more valuable things Rudsky has because people spend money buying frequency dictionaries, but Rutsky has one built in for free. So that's actually a really cool feature that Rutsky has. And this isn't provided by AI or anything. This is just data. And like I was talking about in the first video, sort of the 80/20 rule of data products, like this would definitely fall into the 80 rule. So the sort of the non-data science portion of where data can add value in software. So yeah, I just think that's really cool. Um, so community submission and breakdown, what's that about? So check this out. This is where AI comes in. So um, if you, I totally glossed over this info box. So when you come to Rootski, every time you go to a word, you're going to see some box like this, and this box says someone in the community broke this down, but you might not agree. do you want to submit your own? So this is a community submission, and you can't really tell, but there's like a little space between this like H looking character and this like little B looking character. And so that is actually trying to say that these are two different roots, uh, which this is a horrible breakdown. This is totally wrong. So yeah, I disagree as a user. I disagree with this breakdown. And honestly, it could have been an AI that did this breakdown. So if it was, the AI was awful. So what we'll do is we'll click break it down and we'll submit our own. So this takes us into this sort of breakdown widget. And I can highlight Sama, which means self. And I get this sort of list of possible roots that could be. And I get a little, this says level one. I've categorized all the main roots in Russian by sort of their difficulty level. So it's almost like a frequency rank of roots. It's like things that are level one, you should learn first. Level two, you should learn second. So you can see what level this is, and you can see a little meaning of the roots. So that's awesome. So yeah, Sama, as a Russian student, I know that that's what the root is. So I'm just gonna click it. Um, and then Tel, this part means like a doer, like a builder. This is like the ER in the word builder. So yeah, I definitely recognize that that's a root. So I'm going to take that. I don't have in our database a root for this one, stoya. So um, in this case, this is kind of a niche thing. I mean, I haven't really decided how to handle this case where this is sort of an irregular form of a really, really obscure root. So in this case, um, where it's not cleanly a root, we're just going to label it as not a root. So I'll select that. And then ni, this last little bit, this is basically like the ending you see on almost every adjective in the Russian language. So independent is an adjective. So totally makes sense that this would be an adjective. So look, we have two different things that ni can be in Russian. We've got ache, okay. Other forms, noi, I don't like that. So, or ni, this is an adjective suffix. And it's level six. Check it out. That should probably be a lower level, honestly. So yeah, select that. We just finished breaking down our first word in Rootski. So I'm going to click submit for review, and it's going to be sad because I'm not logged in. So we totally have user accounts set up in Russian. So it says you have to be logged in to submit a breakdown. If you do log in, this lets you keep track of the breakdowns you've submitted. It also helps me moderate the quality of breakdowns. So this is like a personal letter from me, the developer. If you want, we can give more credit to the contributors of Rootski. I'm totally fine with that. So we can sign it from the Rootski team or from, I don't know, specific names, whatever. So I'll click sign up or sign in. Very cool. Definitely going to sign in. Is it going to work? I hope it works. So this redirects us to this very long, complicated URL, which is basically a special login service provided by AWS. And so they basically handle our user accounts for us, which is amazing because I didn't have to code like a user management system myself. So you can either sign in, you can create your own username and password for Rootski using this. There's like a sign up thing, or you can sign in with Google, which is like what all modern apps use these days. So we'll do that. And let's see. So the benefit of having this is like if people don't have a Google account, sure, they can sign up with this. And another cool thing is it has this forgot your password thing. So this service actually manages like if a user forgets their email or their password and wants to reset it, AWS takes care of all of that for us. So um, as far as the Rootski front end is concerned, you click this button and it sends you over to AWS to actually log in. And I can teach you a little bit about how that works, but basically, when we finish with this process, AWS is going to give us like sort of an ID number. It's called a token. And when we return to Rootski, in the web page, hidden somewhere, is going to be our user ID, basically. So Rootski is going to start treating us like a very specific user. So it'll give us that personalized experience because when we came back from this UI, we have our person ID, which that's a big oversimplification, but if you really care to know more, I mean, we can totally work. I can totally explain that to you later. So I'm going to sign in with Google. Nice. Sign in, sign in, sign in. And I'm going to use my email to do it. This part's kind of sad, and I don't know if it's worth fixing at this point, but users might get mad. So basically, we just lost the breakdown that we did because it's kind of the nature of the way that the React app is set up. When Amazon is only basically that user thing is only able to bring us back to a specified link. So I chose to have it bring us back to the Rootski homepage. So yeah, we totally lost our breakdown. So as a user, that's really frustrating, probably for the first time at least. So I don't know, maybe we can look into that, but I don't think it's the highest priority. So yeah, I'm just going to really quickly just re-break down this word. Okay, broken down. Now, if all goes well, this is one of the more recent things I did. If I click submit, it'll save our breakdown. Let's do it. Oh my gosh, totally worked. Okay, so we just submitted the breakdown. I'm so happy that worked. So yeah, so check it out. We have some morphemes in the breakdown. We didn't have this view before, so here's the breakdown, and then here's a little summary of like what all the roots mean. Ideally, this is what users would see when they come to a given word. So it's really cool because it's kind of community driven. Like if you're a user and you come to a word and there's a good breakdown, that's awesome because you can immediately go start to see, oh yeah, this is the root in the word, and then see what it means. And that actually is a really good memorization device. Like if you know the roots in a word, the word's just going to stick in your head. It's just kind of hard to explain, but it just, being able to logically break a big word down into logical chunks just, I guess, makes it easy to remember what all the chunks should look like as a whole. So that's really cool. Um, yeah, so here's some stats. We have submitted by you. So this is saying like you're amazing, you submitted the breakdown, good job. So yeah, so I submitted this. But there's this other thing that says breakdown unverified. So the idea behind this is that we would have some sort of domain experts like me, I guess, who can come in and review breakdowns that the community have submitted, and I can approve those breakdowns. So I don't have like a UI for that yet. I have to do that purely in code, but if we really wanted to get fancy and make the community like really big, we could potentially have community driven admins. We could give them an admin panel where they could basically review breakdowns and approve them. Um, so there's a few places a breakdown can come from. It can come from a user, or it can come from AI. So that's like where the AI comes in Rootsky. So we're using a deep learning model called a transformer, which is basically a sequence to sequence model. So what that means is we take a sequence of characters. So, a word is going to be a sequence of characters, and we give that to the AI, and the AI gives us back labels for each character. So for each character, it will tell us if that character is a prefix, or if it's like a nothing, not a root, or if it's a suffix, or if it's a root. So there's like 5 classes that any given character can be. So the transformer's job, yeah, just take in sequences of characters and give you out a sequence of labels, which basically correspond to the colors that you're seeing here. So it's a pretty simple concept, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the more valuable applications of AI are. So that's actually really cool. And I do have a model. It's not, the inferences are not hooked up to Rootsky, but if I remember right, the model actually was decent. I was very pleased with the model's ability to see patterns in data about breakdowns and give like it can basically like it basically if the data is good, it can produce good breakdowns. If the data is bad, the breakdowns aren't so good. But it's at least consistent with what it sees. And yeah, I thought that was great, especially with the size of data set that we have. So yeah, so maybe I could have chosen a better order to explain this, but so this is sort of, they call this like a human in the loop sort of AI application. So um, basically, we have a data set of breakdowns, which is currently pretty bad. I mean, there wasn't a lot of data available on breakdowns of Russian words. So the data I could find, it didn't agree with my opinions on what the root should actually be. Like not like sometimes they didn't think sama was its own root, and I'm like, of course it's its own root. It means self. So me as sort of like a domain expert in studying Russian as a non-native speaker, um, I have designed certain roots based on basically to make them as helpful as possible to non-native speakers. So me and then like people who are like in Russia who study as native speakers, we kind of have a disagreement on what is a root and what isn't. So that's all to say that Rootski is optimized for non-native speakers, and wow, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. Yeah, Rootski's optimized for non-native speakers, and there wasn't a lot of training data available. So where will we get training data? We'll get training data from our users. So our users will submit breakdowns, and they will be very helpful because a user submitted breakdown. My hypothesis is that that is highly likely to be better, at least, than the breakdowns that I scraped. So that's great. And if we verify the breakdown, that breakdown is considered to be of excellent quality. And so basically, the more users interact with Rootski using this breakdown thing, the more training data we have to make a better transformer model that will then we can use to re-break down every single word that we have in our database of the Russian language. So the whole database of stored inferences of breakdowns will basically be constantly improving over time. It'll get better and better and better as more users interact with the app. And to be honest, that is how data apps basically go. I mean, if you're an AI company and you make an AI application, chances are you want to be learning from your users' interaction with your product. Like, I don't know, whether it's a self-driving car or like recommending things for to like shoppers on Amazon.com or Netflix. Like you don't know what good movie recommendations are on Netflix until you have a critical mass of users who have been watching things that you have or haven't recommended. So yeah, so that is in a sense that is super cool because the way Rootski works, I mean, if you want to go use AI at work, I mean, this workflow is it. I mean, this is what you would do. So I think that's awesome. But yeah, if an admin verifies a breakdown, this will turn into a check mark and say breakdown verified, which is really cool. And it'll say who the breakdown was by, whether it was by you or whether it was by AI. And yeah, if the breakdown's verified, users are no longer going to have the chance to break it down. If it was down by another user, users can submit their own breakdown. Other users won't see if there's multiple breakdowns for a given word. And if I'm a user and I contributed one of those breakdowns, I will always see my breakdown. And if I want to re-break it down, I will be updating my breakdown. But if only one user has contributed a breakdown, everyone sees that one user's breakdown. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, it's okay. It's not that important right now. So, um, wow, yes, that is the Rootski front end. There's a lot of places we could go with this. So I guess I'll step in. I know the video is running long, but I'll step into like product vision for a second. So, what I'm hoping we can do with this is, uh, well, basically, the main priority of working on Rootski together is to learn things that we can't learn at work at our day jobs, or maybe you can't learn at all because you don't have a day job, or because you don't have a mentor with a good amount of software experience. So, yeah, so first and foremost, the purpose of the Rootski project is to learn, and that's what it's always been for me. And in the first video, I talked about how Rootski has, like, I'm paying for Rootski. Like, I pay a little less than $6 a month to keep it running right now, and which it's not really running. It's not really deployed to production. Like, if you go to rootski.io, you'll see a page, but it won't really work. So when it's up, it's like $6 to $10 a month. And I just, I take that massive loss of $10 a month to my wallet. I guess I don't know, it's like Netflix or whatever. So yeah, I'm paying for it. It's not profitable, but the work I've done on Rootski, it's helped me get jobs. It's helped me network. It's helped me be credible in all sorts of spaces. Like people take me seriously as a DevOps engineer, as a software engineer, as a full stack engineer, as a data scientist, and as an MLOps engineer. So honestly, that's great. I mean, like if I want to get a job now, I won't really struggle because while it's really competitive right now to get entry level positions, once you move into like just mid-level software engineering level, I think you'll find that it's just so much easier to have opportunities. So, uh, yeah, so that's all to say. First and foremost, the purpose of Rootski is to learn, and that is maybe an example of what you can get out of contributing to Rootski. So, but if we did want to like monetize a portion of Rootski, I think some really low-hanging fruit would be to create vocab sets that users could download. Um, yeah, sorry. So obviously we have a ton of awesome data in Rootski. We have some definitions, we have some examples which are really valuable. We can't probably take the definitions from word reference. Maybe we could scrape them, but I don't know if that would be legal. Um, and we have the roots too, and we have color. We have a colorful, pretty to look at word, and we have this frequency information. So that's all some really good stuff. Um, we could create pre-made vocab sets by topic that people could buy. So these could be really cheap purchases. Maybe you could buy a pack of vocab sets for 99 cents or something like that. And and we could make it so like I think everyone these days wants to make their own flashcard app. We wouldn't make our own flashcard app. We'll let other people who are better qualified to tackle that problem take care of that. So Quizlet is a good flashcard platform, but Anki or Anki is my favorite, and people in the language learning community love Anki. So it's basically this desktop slash mobile app slash web app that you can get, and there's tons of like community created uh, like flashcard sets on basically anything you could think about, mostly languages, but like med students love it too. So there is a Python library for Anki or Anki, whatever, however you want to say it, and it makes it really easy to produce your own flashcards. And you could actually use HTML to make those. And look, Rootsky's written in HTML, so it would actually be a really fun exercise. We could extend the back end of Rootsky to make it so you could download a vocab set for a Quizlet or Anki format or as a spreadsheet. So yeah, that would be so cool. So people can basically pick their favorite flashcard app and just download our vocab sets. And one thing that's really cool about that is people sell whole books on on Russian vocab sets. Like if you want to pick a language, you might pick up a book called 1000 Most Frequently Used Words in This Language, or you might pick up a book called Russian by Subjects, which is an actual book that teaches you your first 2000 words of Russian, like colors, adjectives, it's all broken up by topic. And when I was studying Russian, those were legitimately valuable to me. I loved those things. But it took me so much time to make my own flashcards. With Rootski, if we did that, users wouldn't have to do that. They could have these pre-made sets that we recommend, and they could download those into an app that gives them spaced repetition. So basically a tool that helps them review their words at the perfect time so they never forget new words. So honestly, that is something totally sellable. I can't say I can't promise how successful that would be, but I can speak to the fact that that's actually legitimately valuable and competes with older mediums of learning like books. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of resources like that that are free online, but they're not that organized. And as a Russian student, I haven't been very satisfied with them. So like uh, that is something we can definitely produce. So yeah, that's definitely something we could look at for V2 of Rootsky. Um, and I can't say like how we would split that money. Like I think honestly, if we're getting customers, like we'd have to prioritize like cost of operating expenses. So like uh, basically the money we get back first and foremost needs to go into the Rootski architecture. And then yeah, I don't know. I don't want to promise contributors that they'll ever get paid for Rootski. In fact, you might even have to pay $5 a month to for me to like have you be on our Bitbucket account because Bitbucket, they're an enterprise service and we have to pay for that once we get past 10 users. So yeah, I don't want to promise that you'll get paid. Hopefully, hopefully it's motivating for you to hear, I guess, my story about how Rootsky has just it's paid off in so many ways that are not monetary. I guess like it helped me get my following on LinkedIn, which has helped me with jobs, it helped me get jobs by itself. It's really like leveled me up as an engineer. So and also like I guess I'm giving you something that money can't always get you, but you could if you wanted to do a boot camp. But I mean, I'm just totally serious about giving you coaching, tech on just technical skills and software in general. So yeah, I mean, I consider myself to be a good developer, very capable, and one of my biggest areas of focus is writing really clean quality code, which might surprise you if you look at some of the Rootsky code base. But I read many books on this and attend conferences and things like that. So if you work with me, like I will be reviewing your code, coaching you, helping you pick projects suited to your interests. And yeah, I mean, my goal is for you to become just like a dope developer. And not only that, like there's so many cool things we could do as a development community. Like Rootski's not the only thing we could do together. I mean, we could make courses together based on the tools that we're using here. We could like, I'm writing a book. I could use a co-author on my book. It's about Python. And honestly, when you are done contributing with Rootski, you could probably write the book. So maybe you could be my co-author. I don't know. It'll open up a lot of cool career opportunities. I also want Rootski contributors to list Rootski on their LinkedIn. So, uh, yeah, I was gonna split that into a second video, but into a third video, but I think I'm just gonna dive into it. So yeah, you've seen the UI for Rootski. I'm gonna just really quick show you. our LinkedIn our LinkedIn page, which is super janky. So check it out. Oh, I'm still in Cyrillic. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Rootski. We have no viewers. I think the only way I can get to it is through this. Company, Rootski.io. Look at that at my profile. Okay, clicking on this. Okay, so I made a company page for Rootski because honestly, if you're leaning into Rootski, the type of work you're going to be doing basically for free. In fact, you're going to be paying, you might be paying $5 a month for Bitbucket for the opportunity to work on Rootski. So you're like paying money to do this work. And the work that I do on Rootski, it's almost identical to the work I do at my job, and I get paid like a legit software engineering salary to do this exact kind of stuff. Um, so because this is real work, I mean, this is what people do in industry. You should be getting credit for that. And so I've made Rootski.io into a LinkedIn page, and I'm not gonna lie, not super proud of the logo. I mean, I was when I made it. I like doodled it, but the logo is not the coolest thing. So that's one of the stories we have to work on is make a better logo. But yeah, I want to make this page legit. Maybe we could do something like a technical blog or something and post some content every now and then. Um, but this is going to be our business page. And if you contribute to Rootski, after you've finished your first project and gotten your code reviewed and merged and gone through the onboarding process, I really want you to include Rootski on your work experience on LinkedIn. Um, Resumes are awesome, but for me, LinkedIn has basically become my resume, and I hardly use my real one anymore. So um, there's going to be information in our knowledge base about which job title you should pick. I kind of touched on that earlier. So you can have a legit job title working at Rootski, and it will be true. Like, I mean, if you want to list yourself as an ML ops engineer at Rootski and you are doing ML ops projects, that is like that is something that you should feel really accomplished about. And if you're in a job interview, you should tell them you are an ML ops engineer because you are. I mean, if you're using the tools we're using, you are honestly probably gonna you have the opportunity if you lean in to do things that are more cutting edge in terms of ML ops or data science or software engineering that many teams do. So um, yeah, so the experience is legit. You should be able to display it as legitimate. So yeah, this will be cool. I promise that we'll make the LinkedIn page not so sketchy, I guess, like as we go through, and we'll have a much cooler logo. So it's like, what's that cool company they're working for? But yeah, there's so much to learn, and there's so many ways you can grow working on this project. And like, man, and I really am going to be invested in every single person that's helping. So yeah, I mean, this is just one of the ways I'm hoping that like Brutski is going to boost your career, and I have a bunch of other ideas of ways that it can as well. So yeah, I love working with you already. I'm super excited to build this together. I'm realizing slowly that I'm probably gonna have to never work on Rootski alone again. Like if I'm writing code, I should probably pair programming with one of our contributors or multiple of them so that I can be transferring that knowledge and using that as a mentorship opportunity. And when I'm not working, I should probably be helping others get unstuck on whatever they're working on. So that's going to be a transition for me. But gonna I'm still gonna I guess I'll be acting as sort of like a project lead or a technical lead where I will still make a huge effort to understand everything that happens in Rootski, and I'm gonna be if you're learning a tool, chances are I'm learning it at the same time so that I can make sure that we're doing the right thing for the project. But there has to come a point, I think, where the contributors are actually writing most of the code because I think that's where the real learning is going to happen. So, yeah, I think that's how, in my current understanding, I think that's how I'm going to be contributing to our collaboration. Um, yeah, that is it. And oh, and last thing, in the next video, I'm going to show our knowledge base and just kind of how to get started and how to run the app and stuff like that on your local machine. But as part of that, I'm going to talk about how to pick out a project because, our rule is like literally our one rule is you have to be having fun working on Rootski and it has to be valuable for you. Otherwise, go away. Like it's not beneficial for either party if you're not truly benefiting from Rootski, like because you won't be a good contributor. So that kind of that that kind of defeats the purpose for me, I guess. And you won't be getting anything. So if you are spending time on Rootski, you're wasting your time. So it's really healthier for everyone if you're only doing things that you actually find meaningful. So yeah, we'll talk about more in the next video. So thanks for watching this. If you stuck through, bye.